Hello and welcome. This is View from the Top. I'm Modile Sharafa Yusuf, and I'm glad that you could join us. Based on recently rebased figures, Nigeria's economy is the largest in Africa. The country is also on track to becoming one of the 20 largest economies in the world by 2020. Though currently underperforming, Nigeria's manufacturing sector is the third largest in Africa and produces a large portion of goods and services for the West African region. Several organizations, including the World Bank, have also predicted that Nigeria's growth would continue in the foreseeable future. The recent drop in oil price has, however, exposed the vulnerability of the Nigerian economy. Not exactly unexpected, as this has been severally predicted, Nigerians still get a sense that we did not prepare for this rainy day. Or did we? Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is a world-renowned economist, best known for her 2 terms as Finance Minister of Nigeria and for her work at the World Bank. She briefly also held the position of Foreign Affairs Minister of Nigeria in 2006 and is now the coordinating minister for the economy. She kindly joins me on View from the Top today, and I'm delighted. Honorable Minister, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Modele.
Before we start our conversation, here is a brief biography. Born on June 13, 1954, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala was educated at the International School Ibadan and Harvard University, where she graduated in 1977. She later earned her PhD in Regional Economic Development from the Massachusetts Institute for Technology in 1981. Prior to her ministerial career in Nigeria, Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala was Vice President and Corporate Secretary of the World Bank Group, a job she left in 2003 after she was appointed to President Obasanjo's cabinet as Finance Minister. She was also Foreign Affairs Minister for 2 months in 2006. She returned to the World Bank in 2007 and in 2012 was one of the 3 candidates that contested for the World Bank presidency. She was again named Coordinating Minister for the Economy in 2011. Honorable Minister, there has been a drive to consolidate the country's fiscal outlook while diversifying the economy away from the over-reliance on oil, but obviously challenges remain. Like you once said, our economy is diversified, but our income sources are not. Now that the chicken has come home to roost, what can we do and how quickly should we be doing it?
Thank you, Modele. I think you really captured this issue of diversification. You know, it's very topical now. And I find that people do mix things up. I want to, again, repeat what you just said. Our economy is diversified. After the rebasing, we found that 51% is in services, which is just like other emerging markets and even the developed world. 22% in agriculture, which fell from 33%. Industries, 26%. Telecoms is about 8%, and the creative industries about 1.4%, and so on. That didn't even exist. That means that we have a much more diverse base. And actually, it is those sectors of the economy that are growing the fastest at about 8%. The oil sector is actually contracting. What we have now shows us that we can tap other non-oil sources to give us income. What we need to do is make faster our drive to get from that diversified base the income. And let me say that before the oil crash of oil prices, we had already started to say that non-oil sources are too low. Let us try and make this better. So the Federal Inland Revenue Service, working with the assistance of the McKinsey, studied what is wrong. Why is this so low? And they found several sources that if we strengthen tax administration, close the leakages and the loopholes, we will be able to get more money just from that source alone. So over 12 months, even before this oil, we started. And we said, here is your regular target, FIRS. But above that, we want you to be closing these loopholes, bring in another 75 billion naira. I'm happy to announce to you that they brought in an additional 110 billion, which shows you that some of those things, what did they do? Audit. We are auditing, one auditor does maybe 1 or 2 audits per year. When we can do quadruple that, we can do even up to 10. When we audit, then you're able to bring in the additional missing income. People who don't pay their taxes, corporations who have not filed. We found that almost every 2 years, we find 65% of companies did not file. And we hastened to go after these companies to try and get them to pay the money. The tax base, 25% of our registered companies only are paying, of SMEs, sorry, are paying tax. Going to those who are not paying and making them pay. Why should some people pay and others not pay? That is what we are doing. So pursuing all this, we were able to pull in, and we are sure that when we finish all the reforms there, we'll be able to, that is why I said in the budget, we have given them double the target for next year. And the following year, we will be able to do even more. So that's just an example. Second one, closing waivers and exemption. In our pioneer, you know, we have this category of pioneer status, where we give exemptions. Every country does it. It's normal policy practice everywhere. But the study again showed that 30% of the companies given this pioneer status have been violating it in various ways. We have started sector by sector to look at this, and already as I speak, we are sending letters to companies in one sector where we found that the exemptions that have been abused, if we close that loop, we could bring in 36 billion naira from this sector. So imagine if we go through another 4 or 5 sectors, what that could do. So I just want to illustrate how diversifying sources of oil revenue, how we can do it. Then there are taxes. The VAT of Nigeria's VAT is the lowest in the world at about 5%. The states, governors rose the other day from their last NEC meeting about a month or so ago, saying that they want the VAT to increase. The VAT is largely for the states, not for federal government, but I think that what they're saying is correct. We also need to think of how to improve the income